Russia firing ballistic missiles at Ukraine on par with Gulf War Scud bombardment.
Here's a summary of the article.
The Kremlin in the past 72 hours has hit Ukraine with its most intensive barrage of ballistic missiles since the first days of the full-scale war, and by intensity, the pace of the Russian long-range attacks is comparable with Iraq's bombardment of Saudi Arabia with Scud missiles during the 1991 Gulf War, according to official Ukrainian military reports. In past months, Kremlin strike planners had, instead of ballistic missiles, used a mix of cruise missiles and drones to attack Ukrainian homes and businesses. In contrast with a motorcycle-sized kamikaze drone or a torpedo-sized cruise missile most used by the Kremlin in strikes against Ukraine in 2023, a Russian Iskander-M ballistic missile weighs about 4 tons and is longer than a city bus. The most intense Russian ballistic missile bombardment of Ukraine probably took place in the early days of the invasion in February 2022, with the launch of more than 100 medium-range missiles at targets across the country. The onslaught using a significant portion of Russia's ballistic missiles was part of an unsuccessful campaign to force regime change in Ukraine with shock and awe tactics. According to the information platform MilitaryToday.com, during the 1991 Gulf War, Iraq launched 83 ballistic missiles at targets in Saudi Arabia and Israel, almost all Scud missiles, a Soviet-era forerunner of the modern Russian Iskander. According to some sources, the single most successful day of ballistic missile intercepts in history was January 20, 1991, when Iraq fired 10 Scud missiles at Saudi Arabia and coalition forces shot down 9, the 10th reportedly falling into the sea.
This post received a score of 3,200, with an upvote ratio of 96%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
The Kremlin in the past 72 hours has hit Ukraine with its most intensive barrage of ballistic missiles since the first days of the full-scale war. By intensity, the pace of the Russian long-range attacks is comparable with Iraq's bombardment of Saudi Arabia with Scud missiles during the 1991 Gulf War, according to official Ukrainian military reports.
For context, just prior to doing this, Russia launched a huge cyber attack on Ukraine. They shut down air alert systems and the major mobile provider so civilians wouldn't receive warnings of the attack. I've actually just noticed that my data is working again after about 36 hours.
Putin is trying to defeat Ukrainian defense with sheer brute attack of missiles. Quantity trying to overwhelm quality, and it might work if Ukraine run out of anti-missile ammo. This might be make or break moment for both sides.
It's been known this has been coming for a bit. Russia has been struggling to collect the necessary parts for this type of ordnance, so they aren't used frequently. Essentially, once their stockpiles reach a certain number, they carry out these attacks. Russia typically pulls these types of attacks in the winter to destroy the energy infrastructure to deprive the Ukrainian civilians heat to break their resolve. Hope Russia hasn't figured out a way to get the materials for this ordnance, as it would be a big problem. Time will tell.
S-400s apparently, which they have a lot of, unfortunately.
S-300s. They don't have all that many S-400s. Too expensive. I'm pretty sure there are more export S-400s out there than Russia has domestically. They have more S-300, but you would be wrong on number of S-400 in Russian inventory. They have about 50 batteries, and only few were exported. What they have less domestically than exported are Su-30 and T-90, with just India having more of those.
Probably Russia throwing a tantrum after Ukraine's cyber attack.
Tantrum? Not sure about that. But as Ukrainian, we are almost on a week streak without cellular and mobile internet due to hacker attack on our main provider. Happened a day before Ukrainian attack also.
There is also the aspect of Iranian ballistic missiles. It has around 3,000 of them. Which part of them will likely be purchased in the moment the Russia's own reserves deplete? That is why restricting the flows of capital and equipment into Russia is quite important.
I hope the USA will at least implement the sanctions to Russia, considering that next year they will no longer provide help to Ukraine.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.